Yep.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I want to go ahead and thank both of you, for calling in today. We definitely been anticipating this call from both of you guys to get a perspective on your journeys. Obviously, you guys went on separate journeys, but ended up in the same place. So
Yeah.
just
Yep.
want to get a little background on on where you guys met up and how is it that you guys ended up in the same place.
Well, all right. So me, Jesse, and I first crossed paths in juvenile hall, but this is David. You can tell the difference, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but Jesse was kind of off on a. Jesse was already kind of deeper into that system right there, as far as going to YA and whatnot, you know. So Jesse was kind of like a background observer, but we had a mutual friend. We had a mutual friend in the past, you know. We don't talk to him no more, or this group of people, but we had all of them in common. So after Jesse had got out of YA, he had one of our mutual acquaintance had introduced us, and I was man, I was doing some shit, man. When he introduced when our paths collided, um, yeah, I was up to all kinds of different criminal elements.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely up to no good.
Yeah,
He was counterfeiting and manufacturing and doing all kinds of crazy shit. So at the time, I was actually working at the Marriott. So I used to get associate rate rooms at the Marriott, and so I'd get suites so that way he could go in there and run amok, cook dope, make counterfeit, whatever it was. And of course, I'd take my break in there, from work and just go in there and kick back with the fellas. But when I ran into him in that time in '99, 2000, I hadn't seen him since like '94, juvenile hall, '95, somewhere around. I think it was '94.
yeah.
That was when you went to the hall the first time.
95, I think.
'95,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's probably
'95, yeah. So yeah, so when the homie took me over there to see him, I was like, what, tripping out. But but of course, at the time I was half-assed trying to do the right thing. I was working and just trying to keep the parole officer off my back. But but of course, when that's what you do, that's what you do. I've seen the fellas and was like, all right, well, if I can help you guys in any way, I got you. And of course, it's better to be cooking dope and making counterfeit at the Marriott versus the Motel 6 where the cops are always camped out.
And just to just
So
to put some context into the story here, this was right after you
yeah,
had got out of YA, but you still had some skeletons in your closets, right? You had a cold case over your head.
Right, right. I had the murder that I'm actually in prison for right now. I had committed it before I went to YA. So I ended up going to YA, and when I got out, that's when they actually ended up bringing up the cold case on me.
there's a like on that from an outside perspective, right? Like Jesse, like anybody that knows Jesse, Jesse's kind of always looking into the future. Like that's his. No, that's just his look. Like that's his. That's the like
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
when you walk up and talk to Jesse, he kind of just looks into the future, you know what I mean? And he just kind of like it's hard to explain, you know. But he's always like he's just looking ahead, but he's not really with us, but he's listening. He's 100% there. So I remember I went, you know, Jesse's like, hey man, I'm gonna go pick you up, and so I'm like, all right, let's go. So I go, he picks me up, and I'm in his truck. He went and borrowed a truck from I think it was his brother or something like that. You know, we're cruising, you know, and Jesse's just like, I'm not even really tripping. I'm like, oh, I'm with the homie right here, so wherever we go, it's all good. So we're cruising, and he's kind of got that look, you know, where he's looking ahead, you know, and he takes me up, he takes me to a few stops, you know, so there's some family stops he takes me to. That's cool, you know, it's a birthday party, you know, but he's always like, it's almost like he's already thinking about the next place he's going, you know, when he's there, you know, he's not really there, but he's there, you know. So we cruise off in the truck, and he stops at one spot. You know, I see some dude. I wait in the car. He goes and talks to somebody, and then he takes me to another spot. You know, he's talking to somebody. Then he takes me to another spot, and there's some like biker dude, and he's talking to this guy. You know, and I'm just like, damn, I wonder who all these people are. You know, but they look like they're talking about something serious. And you never really know, like with us, like at that time, what we were into. You know, so I'm not asking no questions. He'll let me know if he wants to, but he didn't really get into it. And I didn't ask. So it was crazy that all these years later, he's in the county jail, and those are all his co-defendants from the murder case. And I was just thinking, like, damn, this motherfucker just took me to a murder conspiracy. Had me waiting in the car, you know. You know, yeah, those are all the guys that went down with them for that murder for hire, you know. It's just
And
but that's that lifestyle. That's what it is.
I want to throw
Yep.
something out there that I was just thinking about, like, because Jesse,
Yeah.
he seems like he's very popular. So I could imagine him on the yard. He knows everybody. So imagine if he would
Every
have gone to
motherfucking body.
school, man, he probably would have been like the what is it like the like for prom and stuff. He probably would have been like the king or whatever. I never went to the prom, but you know how they vote for somebody. The
Class
queen and the king.
president,
That, yeah,
class president.
something like that. Yeah, that would have been you. If you would have, if you would have chose a different path, you would have been on it. Maybe battle Victorian. So you definitely,
Valedictorian.
yeah. Nah, you would have
And
been.
that's the realizations that we're all coming to now. Like all the guys that you talk to on this cast, all the guys that we hang out with, our friends, part of the recovery community. Like that's the realization we come to now. Like, man, just imagine if we would have spent the last 30 years applying ourselves, in a different, in a different direction. Like, imagine where we'd be right now. There's not one of us that wouldn't be a CEO or a lawyer or a doctor. Like, none of us. Everybody we're all bosses in our own mind. But the reality of it is, we took the easy road, and it's embarrassing. I look at it now because I'm not going to really start my life till I'm about 45 years old, and I think about, like, man, where could I be right now had I been doing this shit a lot sooner.
And I just want to go ahead and mention to you, Randy Ruiz is in the chat right here, and he just put a message that he was with you guys in the halls back in the day. So now we got
Yeah.
we got another person here
was.
that you grew up with, or at least through the system.
Yep, that's the boy right there. We've been on Randy forever. I know his whole family. I mean, like, we go back a long ways, David and I and him.
Yep, I still remember thinking about him right there sitting on his bunk, like we all had these bunks in these dorms and stuff, and I remember Randy just sitting there with his big old head, just chilling, just chilling right there, like just always kind of like happy, just kind of but it's crazy because during that time you get real close with the guys that are with you in the halls because you don't have family, you don't got prom, you don't got girlfriends, you don't got none of that stuff, you just got you got that group of individuals, and you guys become like brothers yourselves, and you guys laugh like I don't want to say, well, it was all just droopy times. Yeah, we were sad, but we were there to pick each other up. When we seen somebody right there that was going through it, right away the boys would go over and be like, "What's up?" And we'll just all kick back, and you don't want to, you want to keep a tough face in front of your boys, and even though there's always underlying tones and stuff like that, we kind of want to see, okay, well, is he with the business? Is he gonna fight? And even juvenile hall, ain't nobody trying to stab nobody. It was just I wanted to see if he was down to fight, and they called it scans back then. Remember the scans?
Yep, scan to the quad.
They call it scan to the quad, scan to the unit. And those are just basically what they call for the alarm. They'll get on the walkie-talkie and they'll be like, "Oh, scan to unit 5," and everybody will run over there and be like, "All right, the homies with it." And we all had to do it, but at the end of the day, like we were just scared children. We were young. We were in there together. We thought we were old. We thought we were tough. We thought we knew everything. But yeah, Randy's one of those kids that he was there. He was there with us the whole time. Yep, that's the boy right there.
And Randy,
Yeah, it's crazy because a lot of us. Go ahead.
Did you guys ever come across Randy in the system, or was his journey just through, it stopped at the halls?
No, Randy came into the system, but by the time, okay, so I went first technically. Like I went to prison first. Jesse had been to YA already. Randy was fortunate in some aspects that he had good lawyers, for a while, so he was able to avoid it for as long as possible. Jesse went down because he had already had stuff that was pending. I went down for manufacturing methamphetamine first when I was 18 years old. So I came into prison system, and I had talked to you guys before about I went straight to level 4 180. I started level 1 and just smashed my way through the system. So I was in an area that a lot of people, when they come in for small time, they're not going to go to a 180 level 4. They're going to go to level 2s, level 3s at the worst, but they're not going to, even if they go level 4, they're not going to go to 180. So I was largely alone. Jesse, when he had got busted, when you're fighting a murder case, you're going to stay in county for a long time. So Jesse stayed in the system for a long time in the county fighting it. And Randy just, Jesse had seen Randy, I believe. Did you see him in the system?
Yeah, he came through once or twice.
Yeah.
But he just came through and like did little turnarounds and went back out. I didn't actually run into him in prison, just in the county, because I spent 6.5 years down there fighting my case. So I seen everybody come and go. And for a while I started to be grateful for being there, because some of the dudes I seen coming through, I was like, man, them coming up in here seemed like they got rescued, because a lot of the cats that I knew that were pretty sound and solid individuals were coming in like just whacked out of their brain. Fortunately that was never really the case with Randy, but I know a lot of other guys that we grew up with, and we're in the halls with. They come in there, and they just be lost, and so. For me, I was trying to find a silver lining in, and I would have been one of them people because I used to do a lot of drugs and I always had access to a lot of it. So I'm assuming if I would have been out there fucking up just as much as they were, I probably would have lost my damn mind too. Yeah. So I never ran into him in state, but I definitely ran into him in the county.
I want to touch on something that David mentioned just a moment ago.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He said when he went to prison the first time, he originally ended up on a level 1, and then he ended up working himself up to a level 4. Like me personally, if I would have gone to prison, I would have been trying to go to camp. I would not try to go to a level 2, 3, or 4. What kind of mindset were you in to actually strive to bump your points up and get to a level 4?
What's crazy is that so in my head, like even in Jesse's head, like we were like little bosses in the making, So it was just about like we knew that to get to where we wanted to be, whether it be like I didn't think that I was going to get involved with like prison gangs and stuff like that. That wasn't really my trip. My trip was I wanted to get rich. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have money. I wanted to have things. So I was like, if this is what I got to do, and even from a young age, I knew that if I was going to get any sustainability in the streets, then I was going to have a resume. So when I came into the system, I was like, you know what, fuck all this. I'm not staying on these weak ass yards, and I wanted to go where the alarms were at, because that's the image that we portrayed from a young age in the system. We were like, all right, well, remember we're talking about the scans or the fights that were going on right there. So I brought that mentality into the prison system because that's all I knew. That's how I knew how to survive. I was thinking like a child. That was for me.
Yeah, because we learn it. You learn it from the streets. You know what I mean? Like I'll be the first to say, like anybody that knew me growing up, I've been carrying a gun and shooting and fighting since a very young age. So, like every time I did something that was considered crazy or down or this and that, I remember how the homies used to praise me. I remember, damn fool, that's and that's how I kind of low key became a half-ass superstar in my circle because I was always the first one in and the last one out type of fool. So it just meant that I was more hopeless, that I was more scared, that I was more lost. You know what I mean? That's all that means to me today. But at that point in my life, I was like, fuck it, whatever I'm going to do to earn these dudes' respect, to earn friendship, to earn acceptance in this crowd of people, I'm going to do it, and I became a killer at a very young age, you know what I mean, which is embarrassing, which is, you know what I mean, it's disappointing, So when you come in from the streets with that same mentality, like, oh, this fool will fight with anybody, oh, this fool will shoot at anybody, this fool doesn't care, and you come into juvenile hall, you have to maintain that same, a presence about yourself. So when everybody knows me from the halls, you know what I mean? Like, I would fight with anybody in the halls. I was wilding out on people and the staff, everything. So it's kind of like you get it in your head, and when, like how David said, when they run those scans, and the cops slamming you on the floor and you're on the ground, you're not even thinking about the fact that you just got your ass whooped by some staff because you could do what you want to do to this other kid. But the reality of it is when you go into that, you're walking out with an ass whooping. That's just the truth about it. You know what I mean? The staff they're gonna fuck you up. And
you have 60 seconds remaining.
I've gotten up off that carpet with straight rug burn, the whole side of my face scabbed up the next day or two because of just getting my face dragged across the carpet or slammed on the carpet by one of these staff members. But I'll never forget the feeling in my mind when all the kids are sitting around looking at you like, damn, that fool got loose, or damn, that fool's down, or, because I'd rush fools in the chow hall, I'd rush fools in the chapel, I'd rush fools in educate, whatever it was that, to get at somebody. So that's, and I'll never forget how that made me feel. And that's the same mindset that David's talking about when we came up to prison and he landed on the level 1. I went straight to the level 4 180, but it's because I was a lifer already. But when he came up here with that mindset, he already had that feeling. He from the first time when we met in juvenile hall, when he was in the group room, when he fought and he walked out of there and everybody gave him all that respect for whooping on Travieso's ass, then I'm sure it made him feel some kind of way because I know it did that for everybody else. I know it did it for me. So that's probably what he came up here with. Like, all right, I'm going to do what I got to do to gain.
All right, so the 15 minutes were up. They should be calling us back shortly, and we'll go ahead and continue down their, I would say, parallel, journeys because they ended up in the in the same place on the same yard now. After maybe like knowing each other back in the early '90s or mid '90s, and now they ended up in the same prison, and they're cellies. So that's how we're able to get this both of them on the line. So when they call back, we'll go ahead and continue, and definitely want to pick their brain as far as their journey, and how do they feel now that they're both in the same place with the same type of charges, and the same sentence, and pretty much. So hopefully they call back shortly, and or sooner than later, and we'll go ahead and continue with the journey. And if you haven't listened to their stories, if you go on their playlist, each of them are.
This call is now being
This is
recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, Jesse has no concept of the 60 seconds. Yeah, when that shit goes 60 seconds, man, I'm like freaking antsy already. I got anxiety. Yeah. Yeah, Jesse, he just hangs on a rhythm.
Hey Jesse, I want to touch on something that you had brought up last time, or I don't know, I brought it up, and you kind of answered the question. But when dudes in YA, from what I've never been there, but from the stories I hear online, dudes were getting turned out. And then you also mentioned that you ran into some of these dudes in the county jail and in prison. Were the same things still happening to these guys, that the same type of things that were happening to them in YA, or had that changed?
No, that had changed, and it's pretty crazy. The reality, like, I've literally like shared yards with dudes that been in some bad shit in YA, and it's like the second you start speaking, it's almost like everybody wants to turn a blind eye to some of these things. Some dudes, it was just too damn bad that there was enough people, because it's the same cats that you're in YA that you were in prison with as well. So, like, if there's enough dudes on the yard that can be like, man, this dude was foul, super foul in YA, and you get enough cats speaking on it, there's no sweeping it under the rug. But for the most part, like I said, like I told you last time, some of these dudes went through enough rough shit in YA that it thickened their skin, in the sense that these dudes, they got out and became killers, or became whatever it is. And I've seen them in prison, and they're the ones filling their hand, with steel and stuff like that. But it's like, you can't, I've said it before, you can't unsuck a dick. You know what I mean? Like, what's done is done, to me.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Like, it's one thing if you a little 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, and you coming in and you're scared and you're getting socked up, but you're fighting for yours, and you ultimately, like, keep your nuts in your hand, and you getting your ass whooped, but it's another thing when you just, back then, I don't see it that same way anymore. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it takes a bigger man to walk away from some bullshit than it does to just act like a child and throw a fit and react to somebody, to give your power over to somebody else. I don't feel that way. But back then, under my old belief system, the way I thought was like, if you know what I mean, you got to do what you got to do to maintain your respect, maintain your name, and if you couldn't fight worth the shit, well, then you better get a weapon and even things out a little bit. You know what I mean? But like I said, some of these dudes, some of these cats I've seen in prison, they were involved in homosexual shit. They were involved in just getting punked, and it's like, come on now, like, that's a whole nother level. So it's just funny, it just shows the double standard of how things were in prison. Like, when you get to prison, it's like, oh, well, we're all Sudanos, or we're all this, or we're all that. And it's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, this dude, you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of dude you want representing what you stand for, like. But hey, like I said, to each their own. I've seen some cats that were foul as fuck in YA, and I've seen them in prison, and and they're right up there with the VIP lounge, you know, like these dudes are the ones in the shoe, you know, they were whacking the shit out of cats, and so like, hey, maybe whatever they got put through in YA, it you know, it fucked them up in the way that, you know, they became just as hopeless as some of us were, because really that's what that boils down to, you know, somebody that's a walking, ticking time bomb. It just speaks to the trauma that he's already experienced, that it's already calloused him up enough to where he just doesn't care, you know, like, and his only worry is his appearance and his presence to others, you know, because it's not about us. 9 out of 10 times you put somebody in a bad situation, it's just you and somebody else, most dudes are going to find a way to walk away from it. 9 out of 10 times when we're reacting to a situation, we're reacting to the crowd, not to how we feel about it. It's to how we allow others to make us feel about the situation. That's why when somebody gets stupid at something, the first thing people do is start looking around to see who's seen it, you know? So to answer your question, some dudes, I mean, you don't see none of that weird shit that's going on in YA on the main line anyways. Usually it'll get filtered out, you know? But I have seen some of the cats that were up to no good in YA and be in the main line and general population prison and pushing politics and, you know, and doing their shit, you know?
Thank you for answering that. Let's talk about the time when you guys ran into each other on the bus. When you guys weren't going to court, because that's when you were normally running into each other, right? Because you guys were housed in different parts of the county jail.
Yeah, right. The crazy part for me, like, look, at that time, Jesse and I were worlds away. We were worlds away. He was at the plateau of where he was gonna go. I know he had aspirations to go further, but during that point, like, in his head, he was probably already wrestling with stuff going on and, you know, just being tired. But yeah, I was in my eyes, I was at like the low, man. You know, being over there with all them cats on my side of the cage was a little bit different. I told you, I felt ashamed. You know, I felt like just pure shame and embarrassment. So that's my perspective.
Yeah. For me, it was when I seen Dave, I used to always see a bunch of cats in the PC tanks and stuff. At that point in time, I was in control of all the jails in my county. I was taking care of most of the street. I was, you know what I mean? So I had a certain level of authority over, you know, most of the actives. But it was I used to see cats all the time in the bus when I go back and forth, and I would see dudes that are like, damn, what happened with this cat? How the fuck did he end up over there? And I always, if I knew you as righteous beforehand, I always, what's up, man? What happened? You know what I mean? Like a lot of cats, all them fucking pesetas, oh this, oh that, you know, like, and I used to trip out on some of the dudes I would hear say that, because I'll be like, man, you don't even got a clue. That dude right there was way more gangster than you will ever be. You know what I mean? Like, and I used to try to like get people to understand that, like, look, man, some of the best of our best are already over there. You know what I mean? Dudes that just got put in a bad situation, there wasn't a whole lot that they could do to rectify it, you know? And so when I seen David, it was different. It wasn't just the homie that I had served in the trenches with. Like, this was my friend. This was somebody from the streets. You know what I mean? Like, and this is a dude that when he gets on the bus, he's not going to be like, hey, what's up, and call me by my nickname or something. This dude's going to call me by my first name because we hang out with each other on the streets. You know what I mean? So when I seen him, it was kind of like, I was like, damn, that's crazy. You know, like, just to see him over there, and it's just how delusional we were at that point in my life. You know what I mean? That it was just like, I can't believe this motherfucker's over there, you know? But because I had, like I said, I would give these other cats their respect, I for sure was going to spend some time with my homie, with my friend, you know? So, and I could see him back there kind of just like, damn, I wonder if this fool sees me, you know? Like, and so when I hit him up, it was like, what's up, dog? You know what I mean? Like, and he was just kind of, you could tell he was kind of like relieved a little bit because he seen me, like, and he's back there, and you know, to us, I could see it in his face. You know, he didn't belong there as far as I was concerned, but I understand that some people are put in situations that, you know. So we were able to share a moment right there just to rap with each other and shit like that, and just kind of like let him know there wasn't no love lost, that I understood his situation, you know. And like I said, he told you guys before, when I was out in prison still and I was on the yard when his situation was already coming to the table, I was actually the one that got at him and was like, look, fool, you know what I mean? Like, you understand that this is, you know what I mean? Like, pretty much, you know what it is, you know what I mean? Like, you know, make the best of it, figure it out, you know? And so, like, I couldn't just outright tell him, hey, fool, they're gonna kill you if they catch you. You know what I mean? But basically, he played the same game I was playing, so he understood where I was coming from. You know. Well, he was a friend, you know, and I wouldn't want to see anybody get done wrong, you know what I mean, especially when I don't necessarily feel they got it coming, you know. But sometimes you got to get in line with what it is, you know.
Yeah, I've explained to the listeners before, you know, as far as what that is, that and what I mean. Look, that game right there, that end game right there, like I said, is murder and death. And what I mean, it's separate, you know. When you're at that level, when you're doing things at that level, you know what it is. You're going to end up with life in prison, and you're going to probably spend most of it in a high level, like 180, level 4, or you're going to die in the shoe, or you're going to get murdered by somebody. That's how that ends. What I mean by death is that you're probably going to fall out in an overdose. Something's going to happen because you're living so reckless that there's only one way that it can end. You can end in a car crash. You know, you just don't give a fuck. You know, and so I knew what it was, and Jesse knew that I knew what it was. Okay, when you're operating at that level and it don't work out for you, they're gonna kill you. That's just what it is. If they can get their hands on you, and in the meantime, you got to do what you got to do to survive. Because I was still a criminal in my mindset. It was still okay. Well, this is what it is. The dynamic has changed, so I have to be more careful.
Is everything good back
Sorry.
there? I hear some some ruckus.
No, that was the officer because they opened their door for day room. But now
okay.
me and Jess we're gonna spend some time with the listeners today.
Oh, okay.
Which they did.
Nice. Thank you guys, and appreciate
But
it.
but so that's what it is, and Jesse understood that. I understood that. I was still ashamed though because as dedicated as I was, I felt like I shouldn't have been there in that side of the cage. I should have been right there in that cage next to Jesse. We should have rose together, and I felt like I let him down, and that's why when I walked by, you know, the cage, and I had told the listeners before, I just said, don't be mad at me. But a lot of it was like I fucked up, and I let that shit get to me, which was the methamphetamine, you know. And look, it all worked out now, so I don't want to say, oh, it was a bad thing, but I'm trying to put myself back in these years where I was still ashamed. I was like, man, I should have been, you know, in our head, we were like, well, I should have been here for a murder that involved that, you know, for that. And so I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed just to be there, you know, just to be on that side. And, you know, I was a person that didn't have problems in prison like that. Everybody likes us, you know, we're just those kind of people here. And we don't have these things. Huh?
The people's champs.
We're people's champs, yep. I don't go to yards and I'm scared. I go to yard like what's it gonna be, you know? What do we got? What do we got, fellas?
But that just goes to show, you know, even though, you know, you guys were loved by many, you guys were hated by some. So, you know, people were plotting behind your back, you know, to get you guys removed from whatever positions you guys were holding at that time. So everything's good till it's not good.
Right. Anytime there's a power dynamic involved, or there's money involved, or anytime there's a light shining bright, you're always going to have. There's a saying I always used to tell people, like, when there's no more food in the water, sharks, they'll turn on each other. They'll start eating each other. If you've ever noticed that, like when sharks have nothing to eat and there's nothing to eat there, they'll eat each other. And that's the reality. That's what this game is about. Everybody was sharks. And so the truth about it is, anytime somebody's rising above, you got a bunch of people nipping at the bit to try to pull them back, because everybody wants to be where you're at. You know, you got people that hate on you that don't even know you. You got people that...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And for me, truth be told, it used to feed my own pride and my own ego, because I'll be like, damn, motherfuckers are talking about me. They don't even know me. I'd literally be on the bus or somewhere, and I'll be like, they'll be talking about me, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, and I'll be feeding the conversation just to see how far it goes, and I'll be like, man, you don't even know who the fuck you talking about, fool. I go, I'm so-and-so, you know what I mean? Like, come on, because I look young. You know, a lot of cats would be like, oh, oh, man, I thought you'd be an older fool with a big old brocha and this and that. I told him, come on, man, that's stereotyping, you know what I mean? Like, so it just basically, like, I would tell cats, like, look, man, you guys got to stop talking, you know, like, you guys talk about people like you know them, you talk about business that doesn't concern you, and this is the kind of shit, and that's how you guys end up in wrecks, and later on, you're going to be blaming somebody else for your own mistakes, you know. And so, to the point that you were adding, you know, like, that's what happens. Anytime somebody's doing something and they're getting their shine on, there's always going to be haters on the side. That's the reality. I mean, like, and that's, you know, it's like, You know, we used to say it all the time, don't hate me because you ain't me. And truth be told, I used to say it too. If you don't got haters, you're not doing something right, you know, and because you know in this weird-ass game that's how it works. Where now it's like, it's the opposite. Like the life I live now, when I see somebody getting their shine on, and see, for me, I don't feel like I played that game much. Like I would definitely, like, as far as like hating on fools, because I've been on both ends of the knife. I've had my hand filled and I've had motherfuckers move on me with a knife. I've been on both sides. I came into this 22 years ago with a green light on my name. I had to go through the trenches to get where I got. I didn't start out even like everybody.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I came in getting fucked off everywhere I went in my county because fools were gunning for me, you know what I mean? So, but I stayed true to the game, and I did what I had to do to earn my position so that I could come back and get my runbacks on every motherfucker that slang mud in my direction, you know? But that's how stubborn and silly and ego-driven I was, you know? We're going to call you back.
Yeah, he's got no concept. Well, now he has a concept of the 60 seconds.
I'm keeping track right now. We're down to 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna call back.
Okay, we'll be here waiting for you. So right now, when they call back, I wanna ask Jesse about his situation, just because I had asked on one of our interviews, I had asked David if he ever knew anybody that went against the grain when they were in bad standings, and and he had mentioned, Jesse, he went against the grain and he was able to rectify his situation for some time, and then till he wasn't able to fix it on the second time around. He said it was a gray area, and you could wiggle around in a gray area.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
All right. Yep.
All right. And Jesse, I want to ask you about that whole situation because last time, or one of the conversations I had with David, I had asked him. I had asked him if he knew anybody that went up against the grain and actually, try to, fight, the powers, above you guys, and try to fix their situation. And he did bring a valid point where he mentioned you that you were able to do it. When you were in bad standings, or when they were trying to plot on you, to take your power away, what was going through your mind, when you knew that they were going to hit you?
Like I said, I've been down that road more than once. You know what I mean? Like I said, I started off when I came into the system. I started off, they were gunning for me then, and at that point in my life, what was driving me was simply, I'm going to do life in prison. I'm never getting out, and the only thing I have about myself is my name and who I am. I can't. I would rather die than give up my name and give up my gang and give up who I am. You know what I mean? So I didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing back then. You know what I mean? I was running on pure stubbornness and pride and really fear of losing the only identity I had ever created for myself that I feel kept me alive and took care of me my whole life. You know what I mean? So when I first started out, the first year and a half that I was busted in, 2001, early 2002, when I was going against the grain then, it wasn't so much going against the grain as trying to just, plant my feet in the pavement, because like I said, the powers that be were gunning for me at that time, and it was like, I haven't done anything wrong. You're not going to just fuck me up, and if that's the case, then you're going to kill me doing it. You know what I mean? I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm here to stay. My gang's here to stay, and this is what it is. And I look back at it now, and I'm like, damn, where would I be today had I just thrown in the towel back then, right? But it wasn't an option. It wasn't an option because as far as I was concerned, if you took my nickname and you took my gang and you took all that away from me, I was as good as dead because that's who I was, So back then, I did everything I had to do. You know what I mean? I made sure. I did a lot of crazy shit. You know what I mean? To make sure that I got to the right places with the right people to ensure that my name was able to get cleared up and really in the end, like that was a driving force for me for many years, and that's why that goes into what I was telling you about. I never really put dudes in a bad situation. Like I can sit here with a sound mind and a sound heart and say that I never fucked off anybody that didn't have it coming by the standards of the criminal code, because I had been on both sides of it. I had been in situations where it was like, damn, is nobody gonna throw me a lifeline? Is nobody gonna help me out? Like, is it me against the world? And so and I didn't have money. All I had was my nuts and my heart, and that was the like that, and my word, like that was the only thing that was gonna get me through the situations that I was being put in, and so I've seen a lot of dudes that get caught up in politics and get caught up in bullshit. They don't have money, they don't have they don't have the right ear or the right person that, okay, you know what, I'm gonna take this dude under the eye line and I'm gonna help him out. For me, it was all about just getting my ride on and facing the music everywhere I went, until I got the opportunity where a member actually came to my county jail in 2002, and they asked me to do something, to get over there to him, and I did what I had to do so that I could get there and get his ear and get the whole situation taken care of. So that was the first time. The second time was a power play, like they were trying to take the yard. They had no idea that I was going to leave the yard to somebody from a whole different area, and the people from that area, because I had a stronghold on the yard, they were worried that they were like, okay, well, we got to get rid of this dude before he leaves, so that way we can snatch the yard up and it'll come across as vacant. And if it's vacant, then you could put somebody in play. But they didn't know that I already had somebody from their area to actually fill my position, and it was somebody that I didn't mess with, somebody that I didn't care for personally, but on a business level, this dude was straight, like he was a classy ass cat. He did things, I respected his gangster. I just didn't care for the cat on a personal level, because I did things one way. I was kind of, reckless and wild, and I did things like, I did things like a younger cat. He did things like an older cat, because I was young back then. That's the reality of it, and so he did things like an older cat, and so when it came time for me, when I was going to be leaving soon, I had actually...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I told him, hey, I'm going to be taking off, and I want you to pick up right here, and he was actually kind of shocked, because we had a little falling out over a little transaction over some phones and stuff previously, and like I said, he was confident in who he was, and I was like, hey, well, it is what it is, take it how you want, and basically it just became where we were like at a Mexican standoff, and ultimately we just kind of like stayed away from each other, we wrapped up the business and things stayed the way it was, but we didn't care for each other, but I watched him for the next year, and I seen how his conduct, and I respected it, so like I said, when I ended up, he told me straight up. He said, "Look, man," he goes, give me some time to sleep on it. I'll get at you in a couple of days." I told him, "We need to move quick, because I don't know when I'm leaving. I'm gonna be gone soon." And so he ends up hitting me up, and he's like, "Look, I'll do it. I'll pick up right here." He goes, "But here it is." He goes, I'm not going to say nothing until I have a driver's license in my hand, and I'm not going to do nothing until you're ready to step back completely. Like, I'm not going to move forward. We're not moving forward together. Like, when you step back, I'm going to move forward and do things how I see fit. And I said, no, absolutely. Like, that's, and he asked me, like, well, what made you pick me? And I told him, look, man, I said, I do what I know I'm capable of doing. I get away with what I can get away with, and I run things the way I know that I'm comfortable running them, and I'm not worried about getting in trouble or doing what I have to do. I said, but when it comes to picking somebody who represents the people I represent at that point in my life, I feel confident that individual would like you. He would like your get down, and so he was like, all right, well, fuck it, go ahead and send word out, and when you get the driver's license back and you got it in writing right here in front of me, then you ready to step back, I'll push forward. Well, I had gotten his driver's license, but I had already been hearing words on the yard that these cats were plotting on trying to basically like get rid of me, and basically because they didn't know that there was already somebody, because if there's somebody on standby and they're aware of it, there's no point of making a move like that. There's no point of because it's like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of them, we're just going to get in trouble because there's already somebody here who's in contact with that individual. So anyway, long story short, you know, they didn't know that I had somebody already ready, and they went ahead and pulled the trigger, you know. And the thing about it is the guys who they had actually put on it actually came to my cell and brought me the kite and was like, hey, fool, we don't want to get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? Like, what do we do? And they slid the kite under the door, and I read it. And, you know, I told them, look, just go in the cell next door, fool, it's business. You know, in my mind at that point in my life, I was like, if these fools are making a move like this, it had to be okayed somewhere down the line. You know what I mean? And at no point did I believe that somebody was just going to try to make a move like this without getting it okayed. So I said, fuck it, it's business. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put these cats in a bad situation because they were asked to do something. And you know, and so I basically told them, like, look, you guys are going to have to come over here when I get this door popped. You guys are going to have to come do what you got to do, but go in the cell next door, you know. And I relate that day to try to develop my remorse. Like, I try to think, like, what was my victim for my murder on the streets feeling that day when he had people inside his house that didn't belong there, you know, that were scared.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And anybody who says, who knows that they got something coming and says, because we were bushwhacking dudes on that 4 yard, you know what I mean? Like, people were getting hurt bad, you know. So in my mind, I'm like, shit, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's go time. These fools are going to try to take my win, you know. So I was in the cell. I was scared to death, you know what I mean? But that fear ultimately became anger, you know what I mean? It got to the point to, like, man, what the fuck you acting scary for? Like, I was literally, I could feel it in my stomach, I could feel it in my chest, because as soon as I can get this door popped, we're gonna get loose, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is, you know. And so they're in the cell next door, and I'm telling them, like, look, I'm gonna get the white boy to get my door open. He's a porter. I'm gonna get him, because they used to put the sack lunches on the tray slot on the door. And I'm telling these fools, like, look, leave the door open. I'm going to get the white boy to get my door open to put the lunches in, and I'm going to just leave the door open. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are going to have to come over here and do what you got to do. And they're like, are you sure, dog? Are you sure? Like, and it's weird. Like, I look back at it now, and it's like, why was that even an option? Like, why would I think that was the right thing to do? And in my mind, I'm doing this because I respected them for bringing me the kite. You know what I mean? Like, I can look back at it, and the only reason I gave these cats that opportunity is because I didn't want to see them get in trouble for bringing me the kite. You know what I mean? Like, if you know. So, anyways, I ultimately, it takes a while. I end up getting the door popped, and they end up coming in there, and we end up getting loose. You know what I mean? Like, long story short, I got my ass handed to me, and I woke up in CTC. You know, and so that was the second time. The third time that I ended up getting into it with some fools over some knives was because we were having a power struggle in the county jail, and somebody had played somebody into thinking that there was a big homie downstairs, and he had already gotten a letter saying, hey, hit this dude, you know what I mean? And mind you, at this point in time, there was only one jail that was underneath one brother, and the rest of the county belonged to me under another brother. So I was doing what I had to do, but I just happened to be stationed at that other brother's jail, you know what I mean, which was technically headquarters in my county. You know, there's like 5 jails in my county, and how many jails we got? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 jails.
Oh, yeah, 5, yeah, blind.
Yeah, there's 6 jails, and 5 of them are mine, and one of them was his, you know. But it wasn't mine. It belonged to a brother, but I was the one in charge of it for the last few years. And so anyway, they old boy had written up there and told them that essentially that I was basically like making a move on their jail, which was not the case. I was simply telling him, I gave him an opportunity to step back and give it to somebody who he felt, who he was comfortable with, because he wasn't going to operate anymore in my county because he was a fucking clown, you know. And so I just basically told him, like, look, fool, I told you from the get-go I would do everything to help you, dog. I said, but now you're a nuisance, now you're in the way, and so you got one opportunity to find somebody to pick up right here for you that I can work with, or I'm going to ruin your career, you know. And so he and it's funny if you really think about it, like, listen to the terminology we used to use, you know what I mean? Like, career, there ain't no fucking career in this, you know what I mean? There's no retirement plan, there's no, you know what I mean? Like, it's fun. We look at it nowadays.
That's it, yeah. The retirement plan is a knife on the yard.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get. You're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Or you're going to end up in solitary confinement for the rest of your life. Or you're going to end up in one of the federal places where they don't really give a fuck about about rehabilitation. You're gonna end up in Marion. You're gonna end up in Colorado Springs,
Pelican Bay.
Pelican Bay. Yeah, they got places for that. That's your retirement plan.
Yep.
And I told you what it's like when that door closed. I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a fuck if you're a member. I don't give a fuck what region you're from. Like I told you, man, when you walk through that door and it closes behind you, you got nothing. You got nothing ahead of you but a wall. Everybody sees it and feels it. I don't give a fuck where you're at. SNY, general population. A cell's a cell.
Yep.
You and your mind in there, and that's your retirement plan. Enjoy.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Let me know how it works out with the wife and kids.
Yep.
Yeah. So they no. So essentially, I had told old boy that's what it was going to be, and so anyways, he ended up writing up to Corcoran, and he ended up telling a couple of these cats that like, hey, so and so's trying to make a play on your house with this and that, and started telling some lies, So of course they sent a letter back down because they have an obligation to support somebody in their team, and in that letter, essentially, they basically told, hey, well, that needs to be taken care of, this and that. So, I had a homie that was he's an older homie that, way older than me, and he's actually like one of the last of the dying breed from my area, and he actually, he was my cellie, and I'm telling him, like, hey, fool, check this out, like, this is the house-to-house that's going around, like, basically, like, you gotta, and he's down from court for child custody from Corcoran, so he has to go back to the prison where these brothers are at, who are making this call to basically to handle to handle me, and so but I'm not worried about them in the sense so much because at the time I had full support from Pelican Bay, and really nobody was going to get involved in it. Right?
You have 60 seconds remaining.
The fact that I had actually had my homie land there from Corcoran in my cell, I was just kind of like, okay, this is a bad situation based on the fact that he has to go back up there and answer it. And old boy's going to definitely send word like, well, so-and-so was in the cell with him, and he didn't deal with it, And so we're going to call you back right now.
Yep. All right, we'll be here waiting.
All right.
All right, and for August, I did see your message right now. When they call back, I'll go ahead and let him know that you left a message there for him, and then we'll go ahead and continue with their journey. So I thought it would be interesting, bringing both of them on just because they came from the same county. They've been to the same places where it was whether it was juvenile hall, a county jail, and ultimately ending up in prison, in the same prison after so many years. And I could see being in a place.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call.
It's acting a little wonky right now. It's not responding when I hit the number 5.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, perfect. Hello?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that thing's a little
Yeah, it's acting up a little bit. But I want to go ahead and read off a comment here we got a comment from August, and August puts shout out to my brother.
August is a guy.
Yeah, no, I know, that's why I already know. I remember from last time. I didn't want to make that same mistake twice. But for the audience, just clarification on that. Don't want to throw that curveball again. And August puts proud of you.
That's cool, man. Yeah, and, I wanted to say something. I don't know if the listeners know when you said that a house-to-house went around. That's a term in here. Like we call it house-to-house, but we usually use a Nahuatl term for it. It's called Cali to Cali usually, or something like that. But when that goes around, it's basically like a kite. Like you're riding a kite. You got something that's going around, and everybody's a part of that. So it's something that has to get passed to every cell in the whole area, wherever it can get to. And it kind of brings everybody aware of what's going on, and it sucks, man, when that house to house is going around and your name's on it,
Yeah, Yeah, if that house to house doesn't make it to you, you probably want to lose sleep that night.
That's what probably. Yeah, if a Cali to Cali goes around and you ain't getting it, yeah, you got some serious decisions to make, man, by the morning.
Yeah. Yep. But as far as that situation, the one I told you where I let the dudes in my cell and we ended up getting loose and they ended up blasting me and I ended up in CTC, like that situation right there, it was a bad call. Everything went bad. Ultimately, in the end, as anybody knows, that happened back in 2008. And I ended up laying down that whole mess. Everybody that was actually involved on that yard in politics, that was involved in that whole situation, ended up getting in trouble. And it became real messy for a lot of them dudes, you know what I mean? Because they didn't know that I already had somebody in play. They didn't know that I actually.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I actually got the kite, and there was actually several brothers that were actually on the streets at that point. They're all actually in the feds right now. They all got indicted, but they were on the streets at that point. So I actually got on my cell phone when they slid the kite to me. Before I was able to get those cats into my cell from next door, I actually got on the phone and I read the kite that they had written, which is the kite that the shooters were supposed to take to the hole and give to the Mesa in the hole, which is the people in charge in the hole, to show them why they were back there and why I was removed from the yard. And so, but little did they know is I had been in solid contact with the Mesa on the back, and I was the only one that the back was actually answering to. So there was a whole other dynamic that ended up blowing up in these fools' face. They ended up rocking out half-cocked, and it went bad for them real quick, you know?
Yeah, a little background too on a Mesa. I don't know if people understand what that term is. I mean, it's the guys that are in charge, but the reason for Mesas is because a lot of us, me included, I was a part of the problem. We were getting power, you know, at young ages and stuff like that, and we would usually run wild with that power. I mean, we did what we had to do, but we were more cutthroat, you know, coming in from the, you know, as juveniles and youngsters and stuff like that. So when on these yards, if something happened, and I was the one that was making the call, it probably wasn't going to be good for you. So it was usually something that involved, you know, a weapon or something like that, you know. So a lot of people were getting fucked off, and we were just kids with just too much power. So there was at the end of the day, we were still needed. A lot of those guys, they weren't out of the shoe at that time. So we were the ones that kind of had the power on the yards. And so Mesas, the concept of a Mesa was formed, where it was a table basically. It was supposed to be like a 3 to 5 vote. A 3 to 5, yeah. It had to be an odd number, so that way that there could be a tiebreaker in all the votes, you know. So we didn't get deadlocked in decisions. So I couldn't just be like, look, this motherfucker's got to go, and we'd have to come to the table, and then there would have to be a decision made, and the majority wins. Now, the problem with people like me and Jesse was that we usually design the Mesa. Yeah, we usually set the Mesa up to where they were basically just yes men. We would give them all the credentials they needed. We'd do everything we had to do, and we'd build up our own Mesa. So at the end of the day, we were still the ones that were behind it, you know. So yeah, that's the concept that he's referring to.
Yeah. So that all that unfolded. I ended up, like I said, getting it all taken care of. You know, I ended up laying the whole Mesa down. The people whose interests I was protecting at the time maintained control of the yard, and ultimately, you know, a lot of dudes got in trouble, and I kept on doing what I was doing. I left to the shoe, and I ended up going out to court, you know, and just went back to my county and you know, ended up taking over my county again. And that's where the next situation happened a few years later, because I ended up going back down to court for like 5 years. And so that's the situation I was telling you, where they had actually gotten a letter saying to do something that you know, to basically handle me. And so because the letter was it was written in a brother's handwriting, you can't disregard something like that. Like, there's always loopholes. There's always a way to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. But when you get an actual letter in a brother's handwriting that everybody knows the writing, it's got the Pelican Bay stamper, it's got the Corcoran stamper, it's got and there's no disputing it. And if it's what it says in there, now it could be open to interpretation, but some of these dudes speak pretty freely, you know what I mean? Which is why there's so many motherfuckers that were validated, because a lot of these cats, they don't really care how it's going to affect you when they're sending out some of these mail. Myself included, I used to do some of that stupid shit. But the letter's there, and it's circulating around. You know, I read it myself. I got it in my hand. And so I tell my older homie, and I'm like, look, man, check this out. Like, what's up? You know, and you know, this this is not going to be good for you, dog. You're going to go back to Corcoran, and old boy's going to send word there that, check it out, man, so-and-so was in the cell with dude, and he didn't handle it. And then you're going to be in the same situation that I'm in. You know what I mean? And he was just like, I don't give a shit, woo, this and that. Like I said, this dude's old enough to be my dad, you know, so at that time, you know, he's like, I'll go over there and I'll explain it and all this and all that, you know, and of course I sat on it for a few days, you know, it was going and it wasn't sitting well with me, you know, it wasn't sitting well with me for one, because I've been doing this a long time too, and the reality of it is, one day somebody wake up and realizes, you know what, I really don't want to be in this situation, and then you got a knife in your back. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here sleeping with the enemy. You know what I mean? And I understood where he was coming from. He made it pretty. He was adamant about, nah, fool, this is bullshit, woo, this and that. But I don't know who's gonna get in his head. I don't know what, you know, that when the reality's gonna come down. Like, you know what am I doing? I'm gonna fuck minds off for the little homie, or I'm gonna, you know, like, there is no real honor amongst motherfuckers in this lifestyle. That's the truth about it. So it's all about, you know, it's all about like how big of a liability are you willing to take on your shoulders. So. One day I kept pressing him like, hey, fool, like, what's up, dog? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that this is something we should just get out the way, you know? Like, and mind you, we both stay with knives in the house, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's just a given. And I'm like, look, fool, like, you know, you know, what's up, you know? And he just like, leave it the fuck alone. And he's like starting to get offended by it, you know? He's starting to get offended by it, you know? And so one day he ends up, I end up going in there and because it's starting to, like, dudes are coming down from Corcoran and going back up, and my homie's still there. Like, a good month and a half goes by, and the other cat who's in charge of that jail, who got the letter, he's actually, like, trying to tell dude, oh, you know, you're going to be in trouble, woo, this, that, and the other thing. And so for me, it was like I'm starting to lose sleep over it. You know what I mean? Just because, again, it boils down to the fear factor. Like, I'm not going to be walking around on eggshells in here when the reality of it is, like, this is a big-ass dude right here. This dude decides to get, you know, to let his nuts hang, and then I'm a sitting duck, and I've been sitting here this whole time. I'd rather just get it over with and let's rock and roll, or you know what I mean? Like, the reality is, it had to happen. You know what I mean? It had to happen. I didn't want this dude to go back up there to Corcoran and be in the same situation that I was in. So I one day we came in, and I ended up telling him, like, check it out, fool. Like, the reality of it is, fool, like, let me fuck this chicken. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'll get my day in court. You know what I mean? Like, I'll handle my business when you know, when the time comes. I'll get my day in court. You know what I mean? Like, this is something you got to do, you know, and the crazy thing about it was only because he started yelling at me. You know what I mean? He started like, you don't fucking tell, you know, and he's sitting down on the bunk, and I'm...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And I threw the knife on the desk, and I told him, hey, fool, you need to handle your business, dog. Like, this shit's going to happen today. And that fool was like, you don't fucking tell me nothing, youngster, woo. And he starts yelling at me. As soon as he started raising his voice, I smacked him in the mouth. And so, which was a bad mistake that I made, because this is an old-ass gangster, been doing burpees his whole life, and he's built like a fucking Mack truck, you know what I mean? So, and I kind of, in my mind, I was thinking, like, as long as I get the jump on this dude, I'm going to whoop his ass, because I can hold my own. Hell no, that fool beat me like a kid. You know what I mean? that old motherfucker got up, and I wasn't really like trying to like. I just was hoping to like hold my own against him. You know what I mean? Because it was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just get it out of the way so all the dudes in this pod right here can say, hey, yeah, these fools got it. You know? And so when I smacked him, you know, that motherfucker flew up, and at that time he was like 52 years old already. You know what I mean? I'm in my 30s. You know, so I'm kind of like thinking like, you know, I got this fool. You know, I was working out like a monster, and we were getting it. But so he ends up jumping up, and that fool like ragdolled me all over the cell, and you know, he's able to like wrestle me down in a way to where he was able to get the knife off the desk, because he's like, this what you wanted, motherfucker. So he starts hitting me with the knife, you know, and so it kind of like in the end. But this is the crazy thing, like where I told you about, there's no honor in this shit, right? Like, my older homie was literally so hurt that I had put him in that situation that he had tears in his eyes. You know what I mean? Like when it was said and done, and when we're getting up and shit, and he's like, motherfucker, he's like, you see what you made me do? You see what you made me do? Like, what the fuck, you know? And I'm like, hey, dog, I did this for you. This wasn't for me. I did this for you. You're the one that has to go back to Corcoran and answer these dudes. I'm not going to Corcoran. When I leave this motherfucker, I'm going to the Bay. I'm going to make sure I get to Pelican Bay, because I know as long as I go over there, I'll get my day in court, because all them dudes up there were supporting me. So anyways, he ends up sitting down and riding a kite to that other motherfucker, the one that actually passed the house around, and he's like, check it out, you fucking idiot. If I ever get a chance, I'm going to dig your bitch ass out too. You know what I mean? Like, I handle the business. You send word to whoever you got to handle it to, but just know that if I ever get the opportunity, I'm blasting your ass too. And when I get back to Corcoran, I'm going to let them fools up there know what kind of fucking sorry-ass dude you are, you know? But I'll never forget, like I said, when old boy pulled away from me, he was like, he literally had tears in his eyes. He was like, man, what the fuck, dog? Like, why you made me do that? You see what you made me do, you know? And so, it was just, for me, it was all in a day's work, you know what I'm saying? He patched me up, you know, did the old coffee and grease, and kind of like, you know, I'd have to wake up in the middle of the night and peel myself off the sheets and clean it up again. But it wasn't bad. Like, he kind of went easy on me. It was just for the sake of him being able to say that he handled his business so nobody else could put the twist on him, you know?
Hey, them old fucking timers, James, I gotta tell you, man, I had one too that was he was my boy, man, and he was like, I told you, I was just one of those people that came in the system, man, and them old timers, they loved me, man. They were like my older brothers, you know. And I met this old motherfucker, and we were in Palm Hall, you know, and you know, I told you that's a notorious hole, you know, that ab seg right there is notorious. It's legendary. So when you're there, you kind of got like a certain feel about you. You know, you're at the highest levels, that's headquarters and stuff at that time for that area. And you know, I was saddled with this old motherfucker too, man. He was in his 50s, been doing burpees forever. He was in Pelican Bay Shoe, you know. He was validated, so he never came to the line or nothing like that. But
he was in prison when they had weights.
Yeah, in prison when they had weights, you know, still. And he just, man, that dude was just, he was down for whatever. He didn't give a fuck, you know. And I tripped out because I was actually in trouble because I went through there and I was just kicking up dust and I was offending people because I knew people too, you know. So I just had that chip on my shoulder, like, all right, well, these dudes are, you know, they're in charge. They're a Mesa, and Mesas, they kind of stick together, you know, like, I mean, that's what it is, you know, they're usually guys that are all in cahoots together and stuff like that. That's why Jesse said he took down the whole Mesa, because Mesas rise together a lot of times, and they all fall together, too. Like, you have to be one slippery motherfucker to be in a Mesa that fell, you know, to make it out of that. Yeah. Usually everybody goes down from that, you know, so it was a Mesa that was doing shit, and I didn't agree with it, you know. I had my people I worked for, they had their people they worked for, and, but this old motherfucker, he did not give a fuck. Like, I was super in the wrong. And he was like, he's like, hey, he went to yard, and these were group yards. These weren't these little dog kennel yards. Like, we were all out there together. There was members and stuff like that on the yard with us at that time. And he's like, I know them all. I've been in the bay with them forever. So if a member comes for good, and it so happened that one did, so I got lucky because he sided with us, but he just respected that gangster. You know, that's at the end of the day, that's what they respected. Like, oh, these little motherfuckers don't give a fuck. You know, so I'd rather have this dude with me than this other motherfucker who's trying to politic around a situation. You know, he's trying to do whatever, and he's trying to use words. Well, this motherfucker's ready to go to knives right now, and there's always an old motherfucker right there with you. And it's crazy. I don't know where they grow out of or something like that, but
yeah, they don't exist much anymore.
Yeah, they don't exist much no more. Yeah, but the system like breeded a certain generation of these dudes, like from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, and it was just like, man, yeah, it's a trip.
And those guys, what kind of numbers did they have? What were they like?
You
E
have
numbers,
60
A
seconds
numbers,
remaining.
B numbers.
Those are mostly all C numbers and D numbers. Yeah, that are like that for sure. You get like the E numbers. For some reason, the E numbers though were mostly calm.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know
anything
why.
Anything before E.
Yeah, anything before E was just a maniac, and anything after E. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know what that was, but
there must have been something they were putting in the Jim Jones, but that.
Yep. All right, we're gonna call back in.
All right, cool. We'll be here. We'll be waiting. All right, so they're gonna go ahead and call back. So today, we'll probably be on till like maybe like another 50 minutes to an hour. Unfortunately, I gotta work today, so we were supposed to actually do this a little bit later. We were scheduled for 4:30, but they ended up adding me to the schedule. They ended up switching up my schedule at work, so I was supposed to be off today, but I took a look at it yesterday. I noticed that I was scheduled for today, so reached out to Jesse and let him know if we could switch the time just because of my work schedule, and luckily they were able to come on at noon.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez,
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right.
James.
Thank you for calling back.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
can you guys, share how you guys felt when after David, ending up in the same yard as you, and how you guys, how is it, living with each other, as far as like, do you guys have any conflict, or do you guys pretty much, just work together without any issues? How's the living situation?
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna answer this question about conflict, right? Because Jesse's biggest conflict is my cooking. Yeah, this fool's a prison chef, and me, I just put some shit together, I told you guys I'm a big boy, so I try to take some shit down, but yeah, that's been our only source of conflict right there. I thought our friendship was over after I made one of them slop bowls one time. Just a mixture of just fish and it's a long story, but
Yeah, no. When Dave first got here, because the job that Dave has now was my job previously, and as a law library clerk, because I'm a certified paralegal, and so I used to work in there in the law library. But when Dave got here, my coworker actually came and he's like, "Hey man, there's some dude out here looking for you." And I was like, "What?" I said, "I'm out here every day. If any must not be looking that hard, He's like, "Oh, come on, man, turn it down a little bit." I said, "I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying if there's somebody looking for me," because he said it in that tone like, "Hey man, there's some fool right here in 2 Block that's looking for you." And I was just like, "You ain't looking that hard, because I'm out here every day. I walk back and forth from the building to work every day at the same exact time, every single day, 2-3 times a day. Well, I walk there and I walk back every day, every day, twice a day." And so he's like, "Nah," he goes, so and so said he said he's a friend of yours." And I was like, "Well," as soon as he told me, I was like, "Hell yeah." I was like, "Man, I got to go over there. I got to go to the building, go see what's up with him." And he's like, "Well, what's he talking about?" But I had already heard David was over in Calipat doing real good. I had been following his journey. Like I said, he's a friend of mine. It wasn't just my homie. It wasn't just, like, this is a friend of mine. I know his family. I know, like, we, been through a lot of shit together, So I told him, like, as soon as I heard he was doing good over there in Calipat, I was like, "Man, that's cool," And so when I asked my coworker, I was like, "Hey, what's he talking about? Like, what's this?" And he's like, "No, it sounds like he's doing all right. This, that, and the other thing. And it's funny because, like how David told you, gave you guys a pretty visual depiction of how things are when you get to a place. When you're living as a criminal and a gang member, you look around, you see who's who, what's what. You send your paperwork. You're looking for your homies. You're right, this, that. And so it's different now. Like when we're living in recovery and we're doing the right thing, it's like my first question is like, "Hey, like, what's he talking about?" And he basically like, "Oh no, he sounds like he's on the right path. Everything, this, that, and the other thing." That was my only concern, And so, because again, he's a friend of mine, so I wasn't just going to turn my back on him. But at the same time, I needed to know where he was at. I had heard from somebody who I trusted his word about it, and he had told me that David was doing real good over there. So I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna go over to the building and talk to and I go, let him know when you go back this afternoon. Tell him I'm gonna move him over to my cell. My cell's open, And my cell had been open for a long time actually, because I was waiting for another friend of mine from my area who I've known forever and been all over with. He went to go get certified as a drug counselor, and I was waiting for him to come back. And he actually just got back here about a month and a half ago, and I had been keeping the cell open for him. Anyways, I sent word over there to tell Dave, like, "Hey, let him know that I'm going to move him over here as soon as first chance I get. I'm going to bring him in the cell, And so I came back to my cell and I wrote him a kite, just like you would any other time. And I just told him, like, "Hey, bro, I'm happy to see you. I'm glad to hear that you're."
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Because just the fact that he had made it to a level 3 let me know that he might have been doing the right thing, And so I just basically told him, like, "Look, dog, I want to bring you in the house. I want to live with you unless you have other plans. But check it out. This is what it is. I mean, I don't. There ain't gonna be none of this, none of that, none of this in the cell. Other than that, if you're willing to come over and post up, come on through. But if these are hard no's right here for me. So like I'm not gonna look at you fucked up. To each their own. But just understand that there'll be none of this in the cell. You know what I mean? So it's better to just get it out in the open, because a lot of cats come from these level 4s, and their idea of programming and doing the right thing is different than their idea is change versus transformation. As long as they learn how to start doing things without bringing attention to themselves, or they're not out there hurting people, to them that's doing the right thing. But for me it's different. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's if you're not going to transform your life all the way around, you're always susceptible to the other stuff. You know what I mean? Because the reality is, a lot of these homies that come from the 4 yards have been doing pretty good for a while. You put them in a bad situation, they're still going to wild out. That's just the truth about it. You know, they still get high. Then, like I said, to each their own. You know what I mean? If you can do all that and it's not a problem for you, then hey, handle your business. It's not that way for me, you know. And so when I told him that, I said, look, you know, no drugs, no cell phones, no gangs, no none of that shit up in here. You know, and he was like, nah, don't trip. You know, he wrote me back and said, you know, bring me over. I'm coming through, you know. So ultimately I ended up going over there to his building, and I went to go talk to the building cops over there and let them know, like, hey, this dude right here, he just got here. He's on orientation. I'm going to be bringing him out of the building. You guys okay with it? You know, and they were like, nah, that's cool, go ahead, you know, and this and that. So I talked to my floor staff, and they were actually opening an honor building right here in 5 Block where they put all the college students and everybody that's, you know, that's been programming, and they wanted me to go over there, you know, and because I'm a college student and I've been programming. So my building cops were like, hey, well, why are you going to go over there, man? We're not going to mess with you. We leave you by yourself. And I told them, well, I'm not even tripping on that. I go, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right where I'm at, you know. I got this whole cell hooked up. You know, I've been in the cell for a couple of years already. Like David told you guys, I got it all. You know, it's real nice. So anyways, I told the building staff, like, look, man, I got a friend who just got here. He's in 2 Block. You know, he's on orientation. I know you guys technically can't move him, but if you bring him over here with me, then I'll stay right here. I wasn't going anywhere anyways. I just low-key used it as leverage, you know, to grab the hostage and bring him in, you know.
That's what it was, yeah. Now, it's the crazy part is, because just like Jesse had heard the good stuff I was doing, Jesse knows me, and he also heard of the bad stuff I was doing before. So you never really know. Like, I had heard Jesse was here, but I wasn't really sure, you know. And so it's kind of like a friends in prison, or friends in general are difficult enough, but friends in prison are also difficult, you know, because he knows like a lot of times, right? People usually get small doses of us, you know. Usually I'll be there, and then I'm gone. I'm in the system somewhere. I get transferred, and Jesse will show up, and he's there, and they're like, damn. So imagine these 2 motherfuckers together, you know. So I was in the bad stuff, you know. So when he had wrote that kite to me, and I got it, I looked at it and I read it, and I was like, no, I understood though. It wasn't like an offensive thing. It was like, hey, you gotta know. Like, I hear all this, but you're a slippery motherfucker, you know. You know, I need you to tell me, because Jesse knows I ain't gonna bullshit him. I'll tell him straight up, hey, this is what it is. It's probably not a good idea if you move me in. And I could have just been doing a turnaround here. I could have been like, yeah, they sent me to level 3. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the 4 yard. You know, you never know, because I'm still technically level 4. So there's just, when I told Jesse that, no, my change is genuine, which means I'm going to do everything I have to do, and that's all he needs to hear, you know, because we can't, you know, I had a boy over there, and I had two people, right, that they were the boys. They'd been in the system with me for a long time. One of them I knew from the streets, and he wanted to cell up with me. You know, he had his cell, and I was having some issues with my cellie because he was getting high. So he wanted me to come over there with him, and I made a decision. I went with somebody who I don't know from the streets, somebody I didn't know from the system other than what I've seen of his character there, and I made the decision to cell up with him instead of my homie. And my homie was real hurt. You know, he was real upset. And I was told, look, man, I can't have you wish shit in the cell. I can't do it, man. My recovery is not that old, man. You know, I've been clean for a year, but what's a year? What's 2 years compared to, 25 years of active using and just being a fuck up? You know, I'm not going to risk that. And then, you know, he's like, well, I would have got rid of whatever I have. You know, I would have made sure that the cell was clean. Yeah, but for how long? Because you're still deep in your defects. I'm at least acknowledging mine. So those are the things that run through Jesse's head and run through my head. You know, when we're in those situations, we're like, all right, well, when we find a cellie, how long are you clean? Are you struggling? I don't need a cellie relapsing on me in the cell, because that's going to cause me a problem, because I know I'm going to have to move out of the cell. And, you know, I would rather move out than have a problem or have to move out my homie, because then that's going to cause a rift. So it's a lot of things that you have to avoid right off the bat.
And, you know, and for us, like it's been a blessing. Like, to go take it back to answering your question. Like, for me, it's been a blessing, because you don't get
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
There's nothing better, even when I was knee deep in the dysfunction, there's nothing better than being a lifer in prison and actually getting one of your friends here, you know, getting one of your brothers, one of your boys that, like, damn, like a piece of you from the streets, you know what I mean? Like, And unfortunately, when you're doing all that other shit, that just means that there's two of you that they got to watch out for, two of you that are just going to slam your heads against the wall, because that's absolutely what ultimately we would have done had we crossed past. You know, we actually did. What was it, like 2003? When did you come through the last time when we were?
2004.
2004, yeah, 2004, 2003, so around there, we were in the county together, wilding out when we were still both on the main line. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what happened. Like, you get your boy together, and it's a whole different thing. So, like, on the other side of that coin, it's like now having a friend here, having somebody that's on the same trip you're on, somebody whose friendship you appreciate, whose family you respect, whose character you respect. It brings a whole nother dynamic to my recovery, because sometimes it's a struggle in here. Sometimes it's like, damn, some of these guys, like, I don't know these guys, or some, so when you have somebody that you can, like, truly be vulnerable with, somebody who knows you, who knows your bullshit the same way he knows your good shit, somebody who can hold a mirror to your face and say, hey, dog, check it out, this isn't cool, or hey, dog, things like that. So it's definitely a blessing, and like how he said, like, we don't have conflict. Him and I, like, we're not conflict individual. We'll rise to the level individuals. You know what I mean? Like how you said, like, I don't usually have problems with people. I'm more of an impulsive person, like I don't have a tough guy complex. It's just simply like, hey, when it's time, it's time. You know what I mean? Like, if we're talking about it, then there's probably a good chance that it's not time. You know what I mean? So, and for us, like, neither one of us have tough guy complexes. We just did what we had to do when it was necessary to do it, And so, like, for us in here, it's like, hey, tell me how you doing what you're doing. We both been doing this long enough, not to mention we're friends. So it's like the last thing I want to do is offend my friend. So if I'm doing something wrong, I have no problem fixing it. Another thing is, when we're in our recovery, like, I respect his journey. I respect where he's been through. So if he's giving me his opinion, a lot of times, just because we start to change and we develop humility and we develop, spiritual principles about ourselves, we still have egos, we still have pride, and a lot of times, I deal with it in recovery all the time with guys out here. It's like, look, bro, I don't respect your walk, so how are you going to tell me what's right and what's wrong, And we shouldn't be that way. Trust and believe, I'll be the first to admit we shouldn't be that way, but I can't help it. I was the same person for damn near 30 years, I was had the same mindset and the same beliefs. So when I'm doing this now, I need somebody who I respect, who can hold me accountable, somebody who I love who can hold me accountable, where it's like, okay, when this dude's telling me something, he's telling me for my own good, not for his own good. You know what I mean? And it's just it's a different dynamic to have a friend here to grow together, to just be, like we both have the same goals, we both have the same aspirations. So it's like everything we do, we're moving in the same direction together, and it just so happens now we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, the term also, like, when I tell Jesse I got his back, it's different, it's got a different meaning. When we be on the yard, Jesse knows, when I would get to a place, there'd be times where I remember, him and some other dude, they were lifers at the time fighting a murder case, and they were also, buddy, they were fucking them up, but I seen the homie, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to get in. So they look up, and I'm right there stomping them out. Like, damn, where'd this fool come from? We went from a 2-on-1 to a 3-on-1, because I just wanted to be there, But now when I'm here with him, and I tell him I got his back, he knows that it's for good reasons, And that's another thing too, is that we're not out here. We don't put ourselves out there on the yard to where we're disrespecting people. And both of us, we know how to get under people's skin. Someone says something to us, we know how to take it to the next level in 2 seconds. That's not even an issue. The thing is that I can count on Jesse not to do that, because he knows what's at stake. I know what's at stake. When somebody's saying something to me and I'm offended, guess what I do? I find a slick way to de-escalate the situation and get into a place of safety. But I don't make a big old spectacle of it. He knows that I have the ability to maneuver out of that situation to where I can get to a safe place, because I don't want him to be in a situation where he has to see his friend get stomped out by a couple gang members, and he's the same way, So it's not about, well, what happens if something happens to you? Well, look, nothing's going to happen, but we know what we're doing.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
We know how to maneuver, But yeah, it's tricky, man. It's a tricky. Prison's a very dangerous place, so it's very tricky how you do things in here.
Neither one of us are going to put the other's freedom, values, goals, objectives, and at risk. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So everything we do, we stay mindful that, hey, anything I do right now that could compromise my friend's life, I'm not going to do it. The same way I wouldn't do that for myself.
Yeah, it ain't. I would never. I'm going to call back again.
Okay, perfect. We'll be here. We'll be waiting.
Yep.
All right. right. So, unfortunately, like you guys should be familiar with now, these calls only last for 15 minutes. After the 15-minute mark, it automatically disconnects, and they'll normally go ahead and reconnect. So they should be calling back sooner than later, and we'll just wait, while we get reconnected. And appreciate everybody that's tuning in. I see there's 6 of you that are listening to the conversations. And remember, if you guys have any questions, feel free to get in the chat and ask any questions you guys have. And if you guys don't feel comfortable asking in the chat, you can always reach out to them directly via the GTL Getting Out app.
This
This
call
is
is now being
Global
recorded.
Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I just want to make a comment on your guys' journey right now. I'm
Yep.
sure, like when you were out on the street, doing negative acts and whatnot. It's nice, to have a partner doing those same acts. But now that you guys are on a
Yeah.
different path now, you guys are on a positive path, going to school, pretty much
Yep.
change your whole life around. It's also nice,
Yep.
to have somebody that that you guys are striving for the same goal. Ultimately, you guys are trying to come home and doing positive things and whatnot. And I want to go ahead and thank you guys for for sharing your stories. Because not anybody's gonna do that.
Yeah.
And what do you guys want to get out of like having these conversations and not and whatnot, and sharing with with the public? What vision do you guys have as far as how we can help the public with your stories?
Well, I think, like I told you from the beginning, this is Jesse, like I told you from the beginning when we started this podcast, the reason why I agreed to do this one is because I didn't feel that it was a prison glorification podcast. That's why I try to avoid war dogs, and I try to avoid, like, trust and believe, like, you know what I mean? I ain't been in here 22 years and didn't get to the shit I got to without being involved in a bunch of chaos, but that's not my objective with this podcast. I told you before, and so for me, what I hope to get out to people is to show you guys heard Dave's story, and you've heard bits and pieces of my story as well. So it's like anybody that gets to hear, like, you can see that the worst of the worst are redeemable. You know what I mean? The worst of the worst are redeemable, and the very same defects of character in us that drove us into all those chaotic situations and all those crazy lives, into gangs, into drugs, into prison, into all this shit, this need for acceptance, this need of importance, this need of belonging, those things, they still reside in us. The only difference now is now they're not defects of character. Now they don't consume us. And that's what it goes back to the thing about the friendship. Like, it's great to have my friend right here. You guys talk to Dave, you hear how intelligent he is, you hear how, and I'm just going to school. I haven't been in school in over 25 years. So going to college, I'm grateful that he's here to help me out with stuff like that, because he's just naturally smart in that sense, So, like, I just want the people out there to know that like when you're looking at when they're looking at the people to the left or the right of them, regardless of how irredeemable they may seem, that they can see, like, look, man, these were two of society's worst. These are two of prison's worst, and look where they're at today. You know what I mean? And just because we forged our friendship through that chaos, through that cancer, doesn't mean that our friendship wasn't able to come out the other side shining bright. You know what I mean? Because I told you before, there was very little honor amongst thieves. There's very little honor amongst that stuff. But I've said it over and over. I never seen David as my homie. He was always my friend. There's a few of those guys in that life that I live with that I said, you know what? That's not my homie. That's my friend right there. And it's showing itself today. You know what I mean? Like, and so people can understand that no matter how bad the motherfucker is standing next to you, you know what I mean? There's something about him that you're gonna be that you can come out on the other side with, and be happy that person crossed your path.
And for me, right, just like Jesse said, I want people. I want people that have already dug themselves a deep hole to realize that they have a chance. It's not over. It's not over. And no matter what you've done in your life, you can end it. You can stop the cycle. It might not be easy, but you can stop the cycle. You don't have to. You don't have to be like Jesse and get hit on the yard. You don't have to live in shame like how I felt at first, because look, at the end of the day, we're both here, we're both after the same goal. This is another alternative. I don't want, I walk people and I walk the listeners through my experiences in here, because I don't want them to see prison as a glorious place. Prison is a place of pain. It's a place of hardship, man. It's a place of just isolation. We're separated from everything we love and we know. We have to create a subculture in here that's built on violence and built on blood and built on murder, and it's a horrible place to be, and I got a shining light out of this. I got silver linings. Yes, I got Jesse here, but I want Jesse out of this fucking place as quick as possible. I don't want him to have to sit here with me for another second and have to sit on the ground as we watch somebody getting stomped out on the yard. I want his trauma to end, and I want my trauma to end as quick as possible. This shit is it's for the birds, so we say, there's nothing glorious about this place. It's walls, it's concrete, we're cold, in here. We miss our loved ones, and it's not worth it. For anybody that's thinking about joining a gang, you got to ask yourself, what's your end game? What do you want to go to prison? You want to represent with the homies? Well, that's a temporary thing right there. It's not gonna end well. If you do come up, and what is the end game for a drug dealer? What is the end game for a politician? Yeah, it's not like the music videos, man. As soon as you come up, you're gonna end up getting freaking killed for the shit you got, and the cycle's gonna repeat. So I just want the listeners and the youth, anybody that has an opportunity to listen to this from the outside. This ain't the life to live. And me and Jess, we want to be there to help as many people as we can realize that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I know anybody that's had the privilege of listening to Dave tell his story, like it's I know it's been a touching opportunity, because even for me, like I lived here. I've lived here. I've been locked up my whole freaking life. You know what I mean? Like, and I've been incarcerated this time for over 22 years. And like, I was listening to Dave tell you guys, his story, and I was there.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I've been involved in many of those situations over and over again, but the crazy thing about it, like, he brought a reality to me that I realized how hard I was trying to escape facing that stuff. But I'm at a place in my life right now where I'm actually allow myself to empathize and sympathize and understand, these situations, and listening to him tell you guys his version of events. Like, I was sitting here and that shit was like hitting close to home, and I was like, man, if it's hitting me like that, I can imagine what it's doing for a civilized human being, somebody who has not been a part of this life, who has not had to witness these things. And it was a crushing blow to like realize, like, damn, like, anybody that goes through this shit is gonna have post-traumatic stress disorder. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna fuck up anybody that has to face this kind of stuff. And it tripped me out. For me, it was like, okay, it was a realization, like, that's why I've used drugs so hard in here. That's why I've done everything I could to say fuck it in here, because I was trying to escape the reality of some of these emotions that he was able to explicitly explain to you guys. And I was listening to him, and I was like, damn, bro, that's what I was feeling. But I allowed myself to feel that for all of maybe 2-3 seconds before I put on another mask, and I didn't allow it. So I'm just grateful that he was able to remember and feel those things, because I had completely forgotten and numbed myself to those realities until I was listening to him say it. I remember walking into reception in prison, and when they closed that door behind me, I remember literally standing there and having the thought in my mind that this is where I'm going to die. I'm going to die in this fucking cave, because that's exactly how that cell looks. It's a gray. In the county jails, you got these pretty walls, and you got, everything's white and painted, and everything looks newer. You can get to the old jails where there's bars and stuff, but the reality is when you walk into that cell in reception, it's gray, it's concrete, it's the color of concrete, and it's tagged all over. It's nasty looking. And I remember when that door closed behind me and it was loud and it echoed in the cell when I got to reception, and I remember stopping and like looking at the floor and feeling like a cloud of heaviness over my heart.
Yep.
And I remember telling myself, I'm going to die here.
Yep, it chills you in. Like, it's crazy. The vent is louder, it's colder. You know, you don't have enough clothes all of a sudden, but you can't, there's nothing, you could sit with this wool blanket wrapped around you to try to stay, but, you know, that gets old to try to stay warm, but that gets old fast, and that's prison. That's what prison is. You know, it's just nonstop echoes, loudness, people yelling. It's just misery. You got J-Cats freaking doing whatever the fuck they're doing. You get people banging on the doors, the walls, but it never stops. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop in the middle of the night. The vent doesn't turn off. It continues. It doesn't get warm sometimes. It just stays cold at all times. You know, and that's prison. That's what it is. You cover your vent. You find a way to put something over your vent, and boom, you get too hot now. You can't breathe. You feel like you're suffocating, but you open it, you're freezing. You know, that's what he was feeling. You know, and like, damn, this is what it's gonna be for the rest of my fucking life, because I wanted to impress somebody that don't give a fuck about me. You know, and me personally, I've seen 3 people die in here. I know a lot of people that have died in prison. I know people that have been murdered in here and whatnot, but me personally, I've only, I only say only because I know Jesse's been in here a lot longer, and I've moved around the system, but I've seen 3 dead bodies in this place, and just the way that everything is handled, you know, people are joking, making jokes, you know, and I was like, man, the last person that I seen dead was right before I got here, so it's probably been about 5 months, and I seen a guy dead. I seen them trying to bring him back, and he was gone. You know, he had just had that look, and I looked at him. I looked in his face. I wanted to absorb the situation, you know, and I just seen like, damn, this is somebody that I had just told this guy that I didn't want to play handball with him. Handball's my thing, you know, and he wanted to play handball. He was all happy and he was excited, you know, and I was like, look, I don't want to play with you. And he's like, why? You know, why don't you want to play with me? And I told him, look, man, you suck. You know, I'm not trying to lose, you know, and he was hurt, you know, and I never really seen him at the handball court too much after that, you know, and he kind of just stayed to himself, and yeah, he ended up dying in the middle of the night, and, you know, they tried to rescue him and whatnot, but when they brought him down the tier, and, you know, the cops were kind of laughing, they were carrying his body. He was a big boy, you know, and I remember they kind of slid, and I had made another joke, you know, as an inconsiderate joke with my cellie, and I said, look, one day don't be in front of that dude on the stairs, because one day this dude's going to die on that staircase, and he's going to slide down the stairs, you know, and we're going to be right under him, you know, and we thought it was funny and shit, but that night when I seen him, they couldn't carry him down the stairs, so guess what they did? They put that orange thing down, and they slid him down the stairs, you know, and I thought, damn, you know, and they were laughing about it, they were kind of making jokes and shit, they were just being insensitive, and guess what, man, the next day, they sent the workers in there. They cleaned the cell out, didn't even change the mattress, and boom, there was guys in there that night, and that was what it was. There was all signs of this guy's existence were gone, and that's what death in prison is, and that's what's a scary thing, because if we die in this fucking place, you know, it's gonna be just like that. We're gonna be here 1 second, we're gonna be gone the next. You know.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The other dead bodies I seen, it was the same thing. You know, yeah, I've seen the crime scenes. I've seen the, you know, where they clean up all the blood and they do shit like that. But that shit gets cleaned. They clean up that scene as soon as it's cleared. That scene's cleared up. It's done. They'll turn the dirt over. They'll do whatever, and it's just nothing. People will be playing soccer over where you died at, you know, and that's it. You know, there's nothing. You know, that's what this place is.
That's real shit. And just think about, I was a seasoned, you know, criminal. I was a seasoned jailer. I had been locked up my whole life, and I still had that thought at 20-something years old. When I forget how old I was when I got to reception, but the reality is, for any youngsters that may get the opportunity to hear this, or somebody feels that they want to, I know our audience is a little older, but if for some reason anybody that listens to this that feels that, hey man, somebody close to me is getting wrapped up in this life, or is beginning to become a lost soul, I want them to listen to this. Maybe they can get something out of this, you know, and so just imagine, you know, some of these youngsters, because they're picking up these guns now at young ages, and they're washing them up, they're coming up here, and it's like, you know, they've never been locked up before. They, you know, that some of these dudes may have went through juvenile hall once or something, and then they're coming up to prison with life sentences. And trust and believe that if I was thinking and feeling like that, you know, somebody who had spent his whole life getting locked behind a door, imagine what that's going to do to some kid who comes to prison with a brand new life sentence with 50 years to life, or because that's the minimum they're giving these youngsters nowadays, because you're getting 25 to life for the gun enhancement and you're getting 25 for the murder, you know. And so it's like, Imagine what that's going to do to some kid who made a couple bad choices and they decided to just throw his life away. Well, he threw his own life away, but they end up giving him what the court determined was necessary, you know. And so what it does though is that few minutes, I had completely forgotten all about that.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
With myself until David was actually walking you guys through his walk-through reception, and I was literally walking that line, being nuts to butts with a bunch of dudes asshole naked through R&R, and ultimately making it through the rotunda and getting out to my building. And I remember that he helped me, bring that back up to the surface. And so my thing is, you get these what it did for me is it made me absolutely hopeless. I said, I'm gonna die in this motherfucker, so I'm gonna die a good death. I'm gonna have fun dying up in this bitch. It made me completely hopeless. But look, we're gonna call back.
Okay.
You got time for another call, James?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got
Yeah,
time for another call?
Yeah, we got like we could do 2-3 more if you guys are up for it.
All right, cool. I'm gonna call
All
back.
right, perfect. Thank you. All right, and JJ, I just read your message about almost doing a life sentence in Mexico. Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the scariest places, or at least outside the United States, to do some time. Um, I've seen like a National Geographics and like Peru and Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and all these places they got some way out prisons. Yeah, so definitely out here in the United States, it's a lot better. It's cush out here compared to these other places. If you end up locked up internationally, you're definitely gonna be in for a rough time.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hey, James. Yeah, I wanted to say something because I thought about it. Well, in between when we were in between the calls, and see the problem that a lot of these kids have, and a problem like that I had when I was younger, is I liked the look. I liked dressing like a cholo. I liked having my hair cut short. I like listening to oldies, and I like being around that lifestyle. The problem is that I took it to something else. I perverted it with gang ideology. That was the difference, and a lot of these kids, they don't understand that. Maybe they like it. Maybe they like the sound of the oldies. Maybe they like the sound of certain rap music and whatnot, but there's a responsible way to do things. And the problem is these kinds of kids that are struggling, that maybe got themselves into something that they can't get out of, or they feel like they're trapped, they don't have an outlet. They can't go to a therapist. My mom tried to take me to therapists when I was younger, and they didn't know how to fix me. They knew a set standard of therapeutic remedies, and they didn't know how to reach someone like me, a kid that, what I was doing, I didn't feel like it was wrong. I didn't feel like the way I dressed was wrong. I wanted to wear baggy clothes. I wanted to have tattoos. I wanted to have stuff like that. Everybody has their own perspective of the way of their identity. That was a part of an identity that I was developing. The problem is that it tied into negative influences. Now the thing is, what I would propose is, look, if there's a kid or there's somebody struggling that doesn't know what to do, or they don't know they don't know how to reach these kids, I would say that, man, what I would propose is, maybe calling one of these places like the anti-recidivism coalition, calling them, calling some just calling a place where they're established, right? They have an established program for helping people that are ex-lifers, and call them and just have a conversation with the person that answers the phone. Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm this old, I haven't been to prison yet, but these are the things that I don't know who to talk to.
They have a juvenile justice division now.
Yeah, something just like that. Yeah, like what Jesse said. But these organizations are out there, and they're not going to turn away these kids. And these guys that answer the phone, these guys have done 25, 30 years in prison, some of them longer. These guys were incarcerated for murder. These guys are out there, and they're doing what they're supposed to do as a way of making amends. They're not going to turn away a kid like that. I know I wouldn't if I was answering that phone. You know, there's got to be more avenues for people to call for people that they respect. The problem is we don't respect some older white dude that's got some, you know, big frizzy haircut, you know, that's trying to understand why I'm a gang member. Like a gang member, an ex-gang member would be able to understand that and help now.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
But tell me what you're going through, little homie. Let's have a conversation. We're gonna be right here with some of the fellas. You know, these guys they're out of the system, and maybe they'll invite them to a car show. Maybe they'll invite them to a little, you know, to something, to some retreat. But it's that camaraderie. Sometimes we don't feel comfortable with certain groups of people. I don't feel comfortable at the Boys and Girls Club. I don't feel comfortable at the YMCA. I'm way too fucked up for that. I'll feel more comfortable around a bunch of ex-lifers at a retreat if I'm a kid that's losing my way, you know. And maybe parents should try that avenue. Call ARC, call one of these other organizations. Maybe you can post something on your website. Hey, these kids are struggling. Hey, let's try it. Let's put them in touch with the next lifer. Let's see if they can help navigate them, because these guys, they walk the walk, man. They're about their change. They're about their rehabilitation. They know what this is, and they're never going to come back to this. And none of us want to see a young kid have that door slam behind them in reception. That's the last thing. I don't want to see them fighting for a freaking bunk in juvenile hall. You know, I want these kids to feel good. Dress like they dress. We'll teach them how to do it right. You know, and what I mean right is we'll teach them how to live in a good, orderly direction. You don't have to be drunk. You don't have to be high to have fun. You know, so yeah, that stood out to me a little bit, James.
You know, and that's good. No, that's definitely some good information you're putting out there. I'm definitely gonna look it up, and I'll link it up to this video once we're done, just in case, you know, somebody does come across the stream and you know, they're looking for information like that. Then, you know, it'll be right at their fingertips. You know, they'll listen to it, and then they could just click on it and you know, find some information.
Yeah, we would call them. You know, it's something, hey, these kids are having a hard time. You can hit me up on GTL at any time, James, and you can say, hey, this kid's struggling. You know, people don't understand them. Maybe you can give them a call, and we'll talk to them.
They can link them to your podcast, and you could reach out to one of us, because just trust and believe that every last one of us that you've had on here, every last one of us has a passion for helping a youngster, because the reality is we all understood, no matter what age we were when we began our change, that we were still that kid at that age. You know what I mean? Like every last one of us. I was 39 when I began to start my change, going on 40, and I look back and I was still the same 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid I was. I said it before. I matured criminally. I became sophisticated criminally, but emotionally and I was stunted still. I was living in arrested development, and so like one of the biggest things I've learned through all this self-help and psychology and everything is like that basically there was still a kid trapped inside me that was just looking for help, you know, and so I utilized all the tools that were given to me. Unfortunately, they were all negative tools, you know. And so, and that's the same thing. So if there's anybody out there that's got any youngsters in their family that are just struggling, they're going through some things, and you want to connect them to somebody, if they don't want to reach straight to ARC, they could reach right here. There's not, ARC is just one of the organizations. There's so much people out there willing to help. You know, like they can put them, and he says it all the time. I used to say it all the time too. You know, when the Gideon dude used to come to the juvenile hall and preach the Bible and stuff like that, nobody listened because it was an old white guy. What does he know about what we're going through? But when you brought the old pintero, the all tatted up and stuff, and he'll come and be like, he'll start preaching the gospel, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of cholos that want to listen to what God has to say. You know, and so it's the same concept when you're trying to like just show them a right way. Where it's like, okay, well, you don't know what I'm going through. What do you mean I don't know what you're going through? I was you. You're what, 14, 15? I was you for 30 years. No. I was you longer than you've been alive, kid. You know what I mean? Like, so it just, you know, so it's kind of like it's definitely this platform can actually be used as a catalyst for some of these kids too, though, because you can connect them to cats who truly have connectivity with some of these youngsters or some of these people that are struggling, you know. Yeah. And like I said, I know everybody that's listening knows somebody that may be dealing with these kind of things, you know.
Yeah, we know people out there, you know, in different regions and stuff like that, you know. So there's it's not like we don't want to try to scare anybody straight, you know. That's not what it's about. We don't want to disrespect anybody. We don't want to make anybody feel like the way we felt when we were kids. You know, it's just this is a realistic approach to what this lifestyle actually is. You know, and there's some kids that they love their barrio, man. They love their hood. But they don't know what love is. That's the problem. They haven't had any type of real love and connection, and so they're easily influenced into that warped belief of what love actually is.
They'll fall for anything because they know nothing.
They'll fall for anything because they know nothing, exactly. And there's a lot of people that are willing to step up. And I know that any of the ex-lifers that I know that are out there wouldn't mind taking a phone call from a young kid that's struggling. That's what we do. We're of service to our community. We give back. We make amends. That's what we do. We want to. This is what we're about now. Yep.
So anybody that's listening right now, yeah, if you know anybody that's at risk, or you would like them, to speak to somebody that's like either in Jesse's situation or David's situation, these gentlemen will be more than happy, to connect with this individual, and they could go ahead and
And mentor.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what they're offering, a mentor system. So it'll be easy, to reach out to these gentlemen. All you have to do is, download the Getting Out app provided by GTL, and then you could start sending messages, and then go back and forth, and make some type of arrangements, and set up a time so they could go ahead and mentor these at risk youth. So I really appreciate you guys actually thinking about that and putting it out there, because I think that'll be a great service that you guys could be providing to give back to the community.
That's it, man. Free of charge, man. That's what it is.
We've got a moral obligation to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not here to make money off it. We're not here to do any of that stuff. We're here under a moral obligation because we know what it is. So much is at stake. Any kid that goes down the path that we went down, even one kid, that's a tragedy. That's an absolute tragedy. We can't save everybody, but everyone that we do save, that's a victory. And that's one that we can put in the bank right there. And it doesn't matter what type of racial or ethnic, background, cultural background. We're here for everybody. If they feel more comfortable talking to people from, their background, guess what? We have people that they can identify with also. One of the most beautiful things, man, that I've seen was, we didn't think much of it, but it was actually an officer that kind of looked at us weird, because one of us was white. I'm super mixed, but, one of us was Mexican. One of us was black, one of us was a northerner, and we were all walking in the track, and we were just talking, shooting the shit. There was a few of us, and we're just walking, having a pro-social conversation, and one of the officers that was working on the other yards, he looked at us, and he was just like, damn, this is a sight right here, These guys, we're walking, and we're just shooting the shit. We didn't even notice the differences between us because of our histories, because we were all the same. We were all united in something good, man, We don't see people through the eyes of those antisocial constructs that we had lived by for so long. I see another man. I don't see his race. I don't see his culture. I don't see his creed. It's simply like, hey man, this is a man that wants the same thing I want. This is another human being, and it's crazy. Like when I look back at it, like for how long that we lived by these weird ass standards, and it's like, come on man, like we all bleed the same. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely, my culture may be different than that person's culture, this and that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make mine better than his. It doesn't make his better than mine. It's like everybody got their own journey, and so it's cool because now you're able to develop genuine friendships too. Across the line. I hadn't realized how much I had closed myself off to other things just by putting up these barriers between myself and other people. The crazy part though, man, we all look fly doing it too, man, strolling right there, man. It's not like, okay, we changed up our whole, our image is different, but it's not, it's just that our aura's changed, man. We still look sharp, man. We're still dressed to the nines, we got our good shoes on, we got our, and here's Pro Club, and we got our Nike stuff on, but we're looking sharp, man. We got our hair cut all cool, faded up. Nothing changed in that regard. It's just now we actually have weight. We got weight on our bones. We smile, we joke around a lot, but we stroll together and we do this together. We're not alone in this, and that's the thing is nobody out there is alone in this. They might feel like it is, but all you have to do is reach out. Somebody's always going to be there if you know where to look.
Yeah.
That's what it is, Don't think, oh man, that's the end of my big clothes, that's the end of my cool. Now all them kids got lineups and they got them skinny jeans. But go ahead and keep those. You can
Keep your skinny jeans and your Edgar. I ain't gonna say nothing about it.
Yeah, we ain't gonna say nothing about it. But we'll team you up with the guy that's also got skinny jeans and one of them Edgars, one of them lineups. It's good. But he's gonna be real about his walk,
Yeah. There's somebody for everybody, that's for sure.
Yep.
Hey, don't even get me started on those Edgar haircuts and the skinny jeans. Yeah, it's a different world out here. You might be shocked when you guys come home.
No, we know. We already know.
We already know what an Edgar is.
Yeah, trust me. I already know. That shit's like, really, you know what I mean? But hey, to each his own. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure. I know when I used to grow up, my mom and all them used to be like, "Pinches pelones, bueno pa nada," looking like you got straight shit in your pants. Wearing big ass pants and just different shit. You know what I mean? So like. And I look back at it now too, like when I see fools dressing all tumbados, because I wear fitted clothes, not skinny jeans. I wear shit that fits me though now. You know what I mean? Like not. I'll be able to like rock some 501s and like a regular shirt. Like doesn't have to be like all crazy. You know what I mean? Like walking around looking. My mom used to be like, "You guys look like freaking orphans." You know what I mean? Like, and so, but it's a trip. You know what I mean? Like I see some of this shit now. Like man, I see.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I would have walked straight up into a crowd of gang members thinking my life was safe. These are the killers now. These dudes look like straight out of Sesame Street.
Yep. Yep.
But it's a trip though, So the same way we look at some people's style and culture is weird, I'm sure plenty of people were looking at ours weird back then the same way,
Well, James, it's gonna cut off. I'll go ahead and give you a call back.
All right, perfect, cool, sounds good. Thank you. All right, so this is gonna be our last call right now. After this call connects, we'll run it for 15 minutes, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Just because I do have to, I gotta start getting ready for work, and I gotta get my daughter ready right now. Just because my wife stepped out, and she's with me right now. So we'll go ahead and do that. And man, I gotta pack my lunch and all that stuff that I gotta do before I head on out the door. So I would love to sit here and be on the phone much longer.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
David Lopez.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
All right. Yep.
All right. So before we continue, just wanted to throw it out there. This is gonna be our last call, just because I gotta start getting ready, to go to the Halle, and so for the next 15 minutes, we'll go ahead and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you something about your old celly, the one that you were with at the previous prison before you got to Centinela. Did he end up getting transferred to Centinela, or where did he end up?
You're talking about when I chose to move in with my old celly instead of my homeboy?
No. So you remember somebody had told on you, made up some confidential information.
Oh yeah, he's here. No, he's here. Yeah. Yep, he's here. And yeah, I'm glad you said made up the confident. Yeah, because for us to get told on, we would have actually had to have done something. This shit came randomly out of nowhere, anonymously, But yeah, he's here, and he's here. He's over in another building, and he understood. He understood right when he got here, because we were supposed to be cellies here, and so like Jesse said that when I got here, I came over here with him, and it was pretty much just like, it wasn't even a. Yeah, he asked a question, but it wasn't really asking. Like, motherfucker, you're coming over.
Pack your shit.
Pack your shit. You ain't staying over there. You're good, And yeah, so my homie, he arrived. He arrived, my old Sally. He arrived, and he's doing really good, man. He's thriving here. He's a positive dude. He's got coping skills, and he's actually somebody that we spend time with him on the yard a lot. He knows Jesse now, and so he understands right away. He understood what it was. you know, that this is my boy. And I had already told him about Jesse before I got here, that there was a possibility that Jesse was here. So it's funny too, because he was like, who the fuck is Jesse? Like, who is it? Because he knows him by his other name. He heard of my celly, so he knew him by his alias. And I kept calling him Jesse, but I just don't call him that. I've never called him that before. So I always call him by his first name, you know. Yeah, but yeah, he's here. He's posted up. He's doing good. He goes aboard in about 9 months, and you know, yeah, it was scary, man, what happened, but we can't let that deter us. We got to keep pushing on forward, man, and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Now, I know you were curious about the cell situation, right? The living conditions and stuff like that in here, and you know, silver linings is, you know, Jesse and I have done a shitload of time in cells, and so we don't really trip on dumb shit, you know, especially with this fool. Like this is like when he goes, because we keep our mattresses rolled up, you know, because the beds are like, that's like our office in the daytime. It's like a desk. But when this fool's out of the cell, he'll come back and I'll be crashed out on his bed. I'm down here just knocked out. You know, I'll start messing with the tablet, watching TV. I watch his TV, you know, bump the music, but there's a respecting. Like, I know that regardless if this is my friend or not, like, I know that he needs time to chill and he needs time to read, and so I stay up there, you know, I stay on the top bunk and just chill, and you know, I listen to some music because he's got to decompress himself. You know, he's out in the yard and, you know, working and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of having courtesy, common courtesy, and no matter how well you know somebody, you got to have that common courtesy in here. Hey, this is you know, he's coming off of the yard, he's dealing with all these people, he got to get back and, you know, jump on the phone. You know, we got a phone on the tablet, so he's got to use that. He might want to watch something specific, and yeah. So it's just little things like that.
It's cell etiquette 101.
Etiquette
if you've ever done cell time, you know how to do time with people. As far as cellies that don't get along with each other, 9 out of 10 times it's a personality thing. It's a power and control thing. You get a lot of cats. I don't like to live with long-term offenders because a lot of long-term offenders have real bad OCD.
It's fucking weird.
And it's to the point that it's weird, that it's like, and I get it because I used to be that way. I understood that because we're trying to maintain some order in our life and some sort of power and control over every aspect of our life, that we become OCD. And for a lot of people that spend a lot of time in the 180s and the shoe and stuff like that, that everything is a production because you're just trying to find ways to occupy your time, and it becomes obsessive and compulsive about the way you do it. And so I don't like to live with a lot of cats because they get stuck in these mañas that are just like, look, dog, tell me how to do me around you because I know how to do cell time. I've lived in a fucking cell my whole life. But don't start making shit up as we go along. And a lot of dudes, they just can't handle being around other cats. And it just be, no matter, like, some of these cats got a cell that's a revolving door. And you know who's who. It's like, okay, that dude's, he's hard to live with. You know, and so for me, it's like I move in with somebody. It's like, look, tell me.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And I'll be okay because I don't have cell hang-ups. If something bothers me, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to sit here and let it build up, but I'm not going to tell you in the sense that I'm telling you how to do you. I'm simply telling you, like, hey, this is something that I don't like, or hey, how can we figure out how to work this out? Like, you know, is this something that you have to do, or okay, you know, and you voice it in a way that it doesn't become criticism or it doesn't become cell captaining. But like with me and Dave, we both know how to do time so well that it's easy to navigate. Plus, we have a lot of the same kind of personality. You know what I mean? Like, as far as, like, you know, we like the same shit, we do the same shit, you know, like, and we're both busy, so really we really don't get time in the cell till the evening time, and by that time it's you know, it's bedtime. So it kind of works out cool, you know. On the weekends we go out and fucking play sports. We went out this morning and gave these fools the business on the softball field, so that was cool.
Yep. Hey, but it's all business too. Tonight at night yard, you know, we're gonna put on our sweats and our beanies, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna start Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous meeting. You know, it's a voluntary thing. We've invited a lot of guys from the yard, so we should have a good showing, maybe at least 15 people. We're gonna go out there to the bleachers, and we're gonna start working from step 1 in CGA. You know, and that's just what we do. You know, we collaborate on a bunch of stuff in here, and just, man, we'll bring it to the yard. How can we do the most good for our community? This is our community. This is where we're gonna do it at, and that's what it is. If you don't like it, hey, tough. You can do what you got to do, handle your business, but you know, nobody's gonna get violent with us because we don't give off that type of violent. We don't give that type of violent personification. Yeah, just handle your business. What I mean by that is do what you do. We're gonna do what we do. You do what you do.
Yeah, we're not crime fighting, and we're not the police. Whatever you do, just keep it away from us. We're not here to tell on anybody. We're just trying to affect the change. Like, we've utilized our experience in the past for negative. We've utilized our influences and our abilities for the wrong things. So now all we're trying to do is trying to create the kind of environment that we want to live in. And so that's, we do it. Like I said, some people are cool with it, some people aren't, but they keep the bullshit away from it. Good thing about us is we've been doing this long enough that a lot of guys know, like, okay, they just automatically suspect that, well, if we cross that line with those guys, they're willing to come back. What they don't know is I'm not. I know Dave's not. I'm not going to compromise my freedom for some ego or no pride or anything like that. As long as a person doesn't put me in a situation where they're actually harming me, there's nothing like, nobody out there has control over me. They disrespect. What does disrespect mean in here? Disrespect is what I'm doing to my family when I make a childish decision to react to somebody versus responding. If somebody's acting crazy out there, and I decide to give them power over me and do something stupid, who am I more worried about disrespecting? Whether I'm disrespecting my family, or am I going to let some clown out here what he considers perceived disrespect?
I got to call my wife and tell her, hey, I fucked up everything because I let this individual that I don't even know and I won't even remember 6 months from now, come in between me and coming home.
Right.
It doesn't even seem like it equates in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's just what it is, man. What it is, James.
Which is a funny dynamic, because if you think about it, for so many years, that was the only option. We gave no thought to what they were out there going through, gave no thought to what we were going through. It was simply, we lived in the here and the now, and all that mattered was this illusion of respect, or this illusion of character. It's funny because there really isn't. There's nothing cool about it.
Yeah, once you gain the knowledge, James, you can never go back. You can't, what did Jesse say? You can never unsuck a dick. You can't. Once you got that knowledge, man.
Hey, that one always cracks me up. I always tell that to my lady. I'm like, hey, Jesse Nava said, hey, you can't unsuck a dick, so.
yeah, it's just funny.
It's the truth, man. That's it. Once it's in your mouth, you done fucked up.
And that's the thing, man. I already know what goodness looks like. I've already experienced, unconditional love with my wife, with my family, and I can feel it. It's in my heart now. I can never go back, man. It's just not gonna happen. I don't have that hatred or that rage in me that drop these yards and wanted to take over a power struggle and just massacre motherfuckers. It's just not in me no more. I can't even, looking back, I think like, damn, what the fuck was that, because it's just so far apart from who I am today.
Well, it's funny because when these other cats are out here doing this stuff now, and it affects our program, it helps me empathize for all the horrible things that I've done in the past, because I'm like, damn. Because when shit happens right here, when they got to come tear the building up, or they got to recall yard because somebody's getting beat on, or just stupid shit's happening, I never gave any thought. To me, that was just a day of life in prison before. And now that it affects me because we're on a positive trajectory, it makes me realize, like, damn, how many times have you fucked up somebody's visit? You messed up somebody's yard. You messed up somebody's sale. You messed up, because in reality, that's exactly what we were doing. Bringing all that shit to the yards, and that's why we try to create a positive synergy around here to kind of like, make it a hospitable environment versus, and it's prison. Prison's gonna be prison, but we do the best to make it as positive as possible.
Yeah, I think about some kid, man, and I had the yard. I was responsible for, getting things to the hole and stuff like that. And there was a kid, we had to take care of something. I had to get something to the back, and some kid volunteered.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He raised his hand, and he was like, I want to represent my barrio. I want to represent my name. He goes, so I'm so-and-so. I'm going to put in this jale, and just remember me, And it's crazy because I don't know who the fuck that kid is to this day. I just remember he was a short kid. He was young, and, my decision to send him on that highway right there, that changed the trajectory of his life. He went back there with the members. He went back there and he was, he got caught up in that little mix. And I remember all he wanted to do was represent his barrio, like, just so-and-so did this, and this is the barrio that I come from. And honestly, I forgot that barrio, a month later. didn't even. I have no idea who that kid is to this day, or what my actions. And there's other kids that that I put through that, youngsters, that run the system, and they wanted to represent. They wanted to represent for the, homie that had the yard, and was involved with the fellas and stuff like that. And it's crazy that I wear that guilt, and those types of individuals, they're what drives my change for days. Now I want to help these youngsters. I want to help these youth. I can't undo what I did. I can't unsend them on the highway, but I can make sure that we don't harm anybody else in the future from this day forth, And that's all it is, man. That's why we're here.
Well, guys, I know we're getting short. We're down to like 2 minutes and whatnot, but I definitely want to thank you guys because you guys are taking time out of your day, to speak wisdom, and hopefully these words get into the right ears and are able to help navigate anybody from potentially going down that route, or if somebody's going down that route, maybe they'll stop and think about it twice and know that they don't have to do it. They do have a choice. No matter how deep they are, they could stop whenever they want and try something else. Try doing some good, instead of hurting our communities or hurting somebody else or doing things of that nature. But I definitely want to have both of you back on because you guys, I think you guys have a lot to offer, and the way you guys speak and the way you guys carry yourselves, definitely want to bring you back on and do this again. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but I would definitely
No, that's absolutely, man. I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed being here with my boy Jess. I enjoy being here with you, James, and if there's any topics in the future that you want our insight on, just feel free to hit us up, on the GTL, and any of the listeners, if they have a topic and they're like, hey man, let's hear from their perspective, these two junkyard dogs, let's see what we can bring to the table, and just hit you up, man, and we're more than happy to be here. Like I said, man, we're of service.
Hey, I got a question for
You
both
have
of you.
60 seconds remaining.
Since the bell just hit, who's a better handball player?
David is.
Yeah, for sure. But,
Yeah, I don't play handball as much as I don't hardly play it. He got me on the court a couple weeks ago, but ask him if I didn't win a game.
Yeah, he did.
but he's probably the best handball player on his yard. Truth be told, so that's not saying much. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean?
Good, James.
Yeah, he shoots that shit. I used to play it a lot in YA, and I used to play it a lot, even in prison from time to time. But these courts are whooped up and yeah, but don't trip though. Yeah, David's definitely the better handball slinger.
That's cool, man. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the listeners, man. And I want to thank you again, man, for having us.
Yep, thanks for everything. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And we're here if you guys need us, man.
Yep.
All right,
Talk
perfect.
to you again soon. All right, James?
All right, perfect.
All right, James, hit me up whenever, bro.
All right, will do.
All right,
Thank
later.
you. You guys have a good day.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Later.
All right, so for anybody that's listening right now, the audience and whatnot, so I'm about to go ahead and cut the stream. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening to these conversations. Definitely going to be having them back on, and I'm currently working on bringing on some new gentlemen on, just so they could go ahead and share their stories, because everybody has their story, and and a lot of people want to share these stories and want to be heard. So and with that being said, I'll go ahead and cut it now, and you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day.